getting close to halfway point with the numbers of practices, and I feel like in some aspects we probably are really pleasantly surprised on the way they picked up a few things, new things that they'd not done before, or things we're calling a little differently, etc. On the other hand, I think we're a long, long way, especially when we're doing the fast tempo operations, a long way from cleaning up enough missed assignments and other things that are hurting us. A lot of the conditioning element. I know we're physically in condition, but mentally right now we're not staying focused through that, and causes a little breakdown in assignments or breakdown in fundamentals, and either one of those will get you in trouble. The most pleasing thing I think overall is attitude. The most disappointing thing right now, and this is just two practices I think with live tackling, but the most disappointing and concerning thing right now is just our tackling. So that tomorrow will be a huge thing. It's not going to be as much about X's and O's tomorrow. We want to give them enough X's and O's to strain them a little bit and see who can learn and function under pressure. But it's really more about fundamentals and seeing if we're going to improve in tackling.
Ellis, tackling's been an issue here for 2 or 3 years, really. Is there something you see that's causing it, and how hard is it to fix it?
Well, I think I don't know what's caused it, but I think that the thing I think you have to do as a coach is you can't take too much for granted, even on our level. You recruit some of the best players in the country to come to a school like Auburn, and you can't take for granted that they all know how to tackle exactly right and don't need work on it. So what we've tried to do is put a tremendous emphasis on tackling every day in our drills. And then obviously when we're allowed to tackle live, hopefully we'll improve in that area. So that's the biggest thing. Work on it, teach it the right way, and the more time you put in it, you also send a message to them that it's important. So, tackling sometimes is just want to, but then when they have the want to and it's still not good, then you got to get the fundamentals improved, and you got to make sure they're doing things the right way. Actually, some of the angle tackles in open field have not been that bad. There are individuals who are bad, but as a team, some of that's pretty good. The tackling I'm talking about is the physical elements where we got those times to really fit up on a guy and make a good physical tackle, and I haven't seen a lot of them on the field. So that, whether it's want to, or know-how, or just an attitude, or whatever it is, we've got to keep harping on it and keep our finger on it and demand it.
Is that surprising to see with so many veteran guys that you have on defense, guys that have
Well,
played football?
if you look now, a lot of veterans up front. I don't have a lot of veterans in my group. Now, I've got some guys who got in some games last year, but other than Jake Holland, I don't have a very experienced group at linebacker at all. And if you'll include the star position, we moved Justin Garrett out there. He is without a doubt the most, what I'm talking about now is tackling issue. He's the best we got. And he hasn't played much ball, so not in games around here. So it isn't always game experience and those type of things when it comes down to something as simple as physically tackling. But we'll see. By the end of spring practice, I'll know whether it's want to or know how to.
What makes Justin so good right now at tackling?
Well, he's got great closing speed. And that's huge when you make an open field and space tackles. And he's got good what we call contact speed. In other words, when he's about to make contact, he has that explosiveness where he runs through it and doesn't gather and settle. He runs through things, and he's got that great contact speed. And so he's one of the ones that's been a bright spot. And we've used him as an example and pointed out to other players, and hopefully it'll be infectious and other guys start picking up on it. But that's the biggest thing I see. He's got an attitude, he's got great athleticism, he's got that closing speed with good angles, and he's going to make contact, and he likes contact.
What do you think of the reaction speed of the defensive line in there in those spots?
I think it's been okay. I haven't really seen anything that just doesn't look like it belongs on the SEC football field, but I really hadn't seen a lot of impact plays. I haven't seen a lot of just dominant physical one-on-one plays, and that's something you want to see. You got to have those 3 or 4 guys on each side of the ball that can make those kind of plays. It's stuff you can't coach. You can keep drawing up all these plays and defenses and everything, but players at some point in time have got to make an impact play, and that's what I really haven't seen yet on the field.
Do you see guys that you think have the ability to make those plays?
Yeah, I mean, if you just start with the measurables, the off-season, the quickness, the speed, the times, on the watch, what they're lifting in the weight room, you look at them on what we call on the hoof. When you translate it on the football field, I think we've got some players that are capable of doing it, but until we see it, it is what it is.
Last year, this defense had some flashes of greatness. Example, the LSU game. What do you think is the X factor for this defense this year?
I'm not sure, and I agree with you 100% on that, because as we watched game tape from last year, their defense played very solid in many games. I didn't see the dynamic plays in games that would give your team a turnaround, the sudden changes, the interceptions for long gainers, setting up touchdowns, knocking balls loose and recovering fumbles. Didn't see a lot of that. Did see them play tough. Saw them play, and bow up in games like LSU and play physical and try to play tough. But the X factor is, what I'm talking about, those dynamic plays, hits on the quarterback that either put the ball on the ground or cause interceptions, hits on the ball carrier that spit the ball on the ground, interceptions, return for big yardage. We got to start finding some of those plays. And hopefully, we're doing the right things as coaches to put them in position, and then players have got to make plays.
The quarterbacks had no interceptions last year. How is Melvin Smith doing to make sure that doesn't happen again?
And that's amazing. They don't have 2 the whole year, period, and I did not know they weren't corners. We have been extremely pleased with our cornerback play overall in the passing area this spring. The thing that we saw on film is that they're not extremely big guys, and at times they didn't tackle that well last year. They also went through, I guess, a dominoes of injuries. And by the end of the year, a lot of the young ones are starting, and some of them played very well. Jones, Hosey, some of those guys. But I think Melvin's certainly addressing it and knows how to teach it. I've been around him, he and Coach Harbison both. And I really have been pleased with our corners. We've already had about 4 or 5 picks in live situations, and I know 3 of them have been by our corners.
How has Chris Frost's transition been, his progress, getting reps and learning the defense and all that?
He's been pretty good. He's the one guy I got in my group that really will talk. And that sounds funny, but when they get on the line of scrimmage, a lot of them are a little afraid to make a decision, and he's not. And he's making some busts and some wrong decisions, but Chris will talk, and he'll try to control the defense and try to get everybody on the same page. And that can be coached. The ones that are concerning me now is they're not really spitting it out, making the calls they got to make, moving around with confidence and enthusiasm and intensity, and mainly confidence. So hopefully, it'll all get better and better. Jake's been pretty good. He's a veteran. He's probably right more than the others are right, but he's got to be a little quicker, a little more assertive in setting the calls. But Chris and Jake right now both working at the Mike linebacker, and they've got to make a lot of calls for our defense. And especially when the offense starts speeding things up, we make the linebacker call a lot of defense out there that is not sent off the sideline. So I've been really pleased with that element. I like his speed, I like his quickness, I like his attitude about contact. He's getting better on all the techniques and things. And that's all I worry about as a coach. When a player's got an attitude that he likes contact, and he's learning, and he's studying the game, and he's giving it everything full speed, I'll get him coached up. It's hard to coach one if he's not going to come to work every day.
How have the installs been here compared to maybe some other previous last years in the SEC in your first spring?
Been pretty good. I go back to my opening statement. That's probably the one thing we've been a little bit pleased with, is they haven't gotten a lot of brain lock out there on things that have been a little new that we're doing, or they see something the offense hasn't done yet. See a new play or a new formation, and some of the things they do, there's zone drops. It's been pretty good. It's a long way from being able to play in a really critical ball game and so forth, but for learning a new system, everything's being thrown at them from an offensive standpoint right now. I've been really pleased with the overall performance of them from an assignment standpoint.
Ellis, speaking of Holland,
Fundamentals, anything else, in addition to the fundamentals and tackling, anything else that you're interested in really watching for scrimmage Saturday?
The number one thing is the effort to the ball. Just pursuit effort. Everybody giving the best physical effort they can give. The number 2 thing is our tackling. We've got to see that improve. The physical part of it, the fundamentals part of it. I think the third thing, we're not trying to game plan or anything, but we've got some things in that have been performed since the first, second, or third practice, and I want to see some consistency in that. Now, so a couple of things we put in this week are things that the offense are going to do that we have never seen before. I really don't care. But these things that we've been working on since day 1, 2, or 3, we got to start seeing consistency in the execution of them. These repeated mistakes have got to start disappearing. I think that'd be the three main things.
As Holland, as you said, a lot of experience, been in and out of lineup hurt. How valuable is that experience in what you're doing, and how many linebackers do you anticipate would you like to play in a game?
Well, the experience is always important. There's no question. You know, you can be a good enough athlete to overcome it, but experience has a value that, you know, it's hard to measure. The experience of being in a tough ball game before, the experience of being down on that goal line with your back to the goal line on the 3-yard line, the experience of being behind, you know, but not losing your poise, all those kind of things. You know, I don't think you can put a measurement on that. They're all important. But obviously that's a big, big factor, and we don't have a lot of it. So hopefully that he can, you know, help us in that area. Numbers of linebackers, it's always been my feeling in the Southeastern Conference that the guys in the box, front people and linebackers, you got to have 2 at every position that can perform on a winning level to know that you're going to make it through a season and through a game with a player that's capable of making winning plays. When you get into a position where you only got starters, and when you put the backups on the field as a liability, you're in trouble in this league. When you get one, and if you only got 3 to play 2, and you get one hurt, then you're right back where you started from. Now, we may not reach that level, but what our goal is, we try and find 22. I don't think it's that necessary in the secondary because it's not that constant play after play contact, fatigue factor. But obviously, if you could get 2 deep at every position back there, we'd like to do that too. But in the box, in this conference, everybody's got to have a backup, and when that starter gets a little bit fatigued, his level of performance starts down, that backup ought to be at least as good as that performance or better. So that's a long-winded answer. I hope I got 4 at least.
What are you seeing out of the defensive line so far?
Been playing the run pretty well. Our first unit is way ahead of our second unit. It's a huge drop-off. What Philip just asked, that'd be a point of concern right now. I don't think we got 4 tackles. I don't think we got 4 ends. Play at a level that you know we got to have. Hopefully by the spring, end of spring, we will. Pass rush has been pretty good. You know, again, I haven't seen a real dynamic play in pass rush. Somebody just exploding off the edge, or somebody inside, you know, exploding up through a gap, or running over somebody, anything like that. But pass rush has been pretty decent so far. But I like our depth inside. We've got a little concern outside. Some guys got to really step up in the defensive end position in the backup spots. The injury to Kamaya Harrell, you know, that's part of football, and it's very disappointing. And you don't ever want him to get hurt, but you really don't want him to get hurt at the beginning of the whole spring because then they've lost all of that preparation time. We'll get him back in the fall, but he's a young player, and now he's lost a chance to really learn our scheme and get better. But I think we got good depth in the tackle spots. Got some question marks in the depth at the end spots. Overall, I think our fronts played, you know, pretty decent.
Who would you say, who are the first teamers right now?
Well, Blackson was hurt, so he has not played. You know, he's been out. We hope to get some reps on him tomorrow. We'll have to see. He went kind of limited today. But I think Rodney would probably pick him and Gabe, maybe a toss-up between Gabe and Jeff, you know. And those are the 3 that right now have been a little bit better than the rest.
Coach, you talked about confidence, and sometimes it takes confidence to make those big plays. Coming off a season like last year, do you think this defense is confident enough to be one of the best in the SEC?
I would bet right now they don't have a lot of confidence. You know, they may think they do. But I think, I've always said, you know, until you win a ball game with each other, or until you have some kind of success with each other, you know, it's always that doubt in each other. And I'm talking about players and players and coaches and players, et cetera. So I think we have a big job on our hands. Probably the biggest job we have is to make sure we turn these guys around mentally and have them playing with some confidence. And I think that's a very important thing.
Coach, you guys have been focused on spring football and everything, but with the ESPN reports and everything, I mean, you guys been insulated from that? Has that been a distraction for any of the players?
I don't know anything about it. I mean, I would have no knowledge about it. Now, obviously, people above my pay grade are handling all that.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.